Joining us now to break down the day's developments and the state of the 2020 race is Jenna Ellis, a senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign and an attorney to President Trump. So, Jenna, we're starting to see a little bit of a development within the Biden campaign. Today, he took questions from reporters, which seems weird even reporting on, but here we are. And then he's also deciding to now kind of ramp up in-person campaigning. He's announced a couple stops that he plans to make over the next couple of weeks. What does this tell you about what the Biden campaign is experiencing internally?
Yeah, I think that they're running scared now, and Biden can't just simply hide in his basement. He understands that he has to get out and face the American people and face what's been going on in Democrat-led cities that have allowed these unconscionable riots and acts of violence. And I hope that he will address the mayors and the governors and the state and local leaders in Democrat-led cities that President Trump has been offering federal assistance to for months now. And so Joe Biden does need to clearly address that. And I think he's getting out on the campaign trail because he's realizing that his poll numbers are sinking rapidly.
And this comes, of course, during a time where it seems like the unrest in American cities is really the contrasting moment between these two candidates. We're coming out of the RNC. There seems to be a little bit of a Trump bump, if you will, is what people are calling it, coming out of that. And it's really the effectiveness, I would say, of the RNC pitting those two different ideologies against each other, saying one is President Trump's future for America, the other is what could happen in Joe Biden's America. And a lot of people are now looking ahead to the debates. We know that in 4 weeks, Chris Wallace will be moderating the first debate between the two candidates. Do you think that's a time where they're really going to make the contrast for the American people and maybe the Trump campaign will start pulling away?
Yeah, well, and I think that the American people see that there is such a clear difference between the two candidates, the president and then Joe Biden. I mean, this is something where it's not even the campaign's just messaging on our part. It's just the very clear and obvious facts that Americans can see plainly for themselves that President Trump is for law and order. He's for protecting and preserving all of the American values and freedoms that our country was built upon and this great heritage and legacy that we've had for the past 250 years. And Joe Biden and the radical extremist left wants to destroy America. And people can see that very clearly. And I think that once they get on that debate stage, if Joe Biden even shows up, even though these aren't the moderators, of course, that the campaign would have chosen, because clearly they're more liberal and they're more Democrat, including Chris Wallace. At least this will give him the opportunity to face Joe Biden, who has not responded to his request for interviews. So I think it'll be interesting, even though he'll have kind of a teammate on that stage. I think it'll be interesting to see how he responds to those questions from Chris Wallace that he's been avoiding.
And you bring up a very important point, and it's the idea that President Trump, for example, has sat with multiple interviews at this point with Chris Wallace, and they've been, as you pointed out, somewhat adversarial. I mean, there were heated back and forth. There were times where President Trump was pressed on certain issues. Joe Biden has not sat down with Chris Wallace yet. In fact, you could argue Joe Biden really hasn't sat down for an extensive one-on-one interview with anyone at this point in a way that really presses him on the issues. It's been more so of a profile, if you will. Why are you running? Well, what's the soul of the nation that you're reaching to? Things of that nature, whereas it's not pressed the same way. So when we talk about the moderators, do you actually think that it could be an advantage for President Trump, since he does take questions from hostile reporters on a daily basis? He has faced Chris Wallace before. Do you think that he might have an upper hand on this debate?
Well, President Trump clearly has the upper hand here on everything because he is such a wonderful advocate and spokesperson for America and for the reasons that he initially ran for president in 2016 and why the American people overwhelmingly chose him through the Electoral College to be our president. And I think that he will thrive in that type of forum. And we've seen that Joe Biden has to rely on a teleprompter. And so, of course, President Trump will have the advantage there because that is an arena he loves and thrives in. And the American people can see that. Joe Biden will be lucky if he even is aware of what's going on in his surroundings.
And before I let you go, too, the Biden campaign announcing today that they raised $364 million in the month of August, a record for not only them, but I believe of all time. What does that tell you about the Biden campaign? Is there a little bit more enthusiasm behind there than maybe some people thought?
Not at all. You know, Joe Biden has only had a few months to raise any sort of campaign contributions, where the Trump campaign has been going strong since the day after President Trump was inaugurated. And so we have a lot more money to spend, and we have a lot more enthusiasm. You can see that by the supporters. So Joe Biden's still trying to play catch up, and the Democrats, you know, while they're trying to fund his campaign, he has a long road to hoe.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're going to come back to the cash on hand that the Trump campaign has, especially in the next 2 months. So I think that there's still an uphill battle if they want to match the fundraising numbers, but still a good month for the Biden campaign for August, so I'll give credit when credit is due. But Jenna Ellis, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight, breaking down what we can expect in the upcoming debates. Thank you.